Hi, my name is Bohtan and today we will talk about On the Sublime by Longinus. On the Sublime is one of a number of classical literary treatises that pose the often considered problem of nature versus art, of the relative contributions of natural genius or inspiration, and of acquired skill to great writing. The author of On the Sublime, who almost certainly was not Longinus, but instead was an anonymous Greek rhetorician of the 1st century, argues throughout the work that is a righteous genius that leads the reader out of himself or herself about the limitations of reason. The author also points out that it takes great skill, training, and self-discipline to know when to give free rein to one's genius and when to hold it in check. This treatise is an interesting combination of philosophical speculation about the elevating, moving powers of poetry and oratory and of practical suggestions about the grammatical constructions and figures of speech that contribute to the effectiveness of great or sublime writing. The author, an enthusiast critic of his literary predecessors, often quotes Homer, Demosthenes, the great Greek dramatists, and even the Book of Genesis to illustrate the powers of literature, and he points out faults, with examples from the work of less skilled writers and from inferior message in the works of the masters. The author begins on the Sublime with the definition of the sublime in literature as a loftiness and excellence in language that uplifts the reader and makes him or her react as the writer desires. Sublimity may arise from a few words that cast light on a whole subject, or it may be the result of the expansion and development of an idea. And the treatise suggests that the former method is generally the more powerful. The great danger for the writer who seeks to create a sublime passage is the possibility of lapsing into bombast, and what is intended to be majestic will be simply an empty show. Other potential traps are affectation in expression and empty emotionalism, that is, prey of passion that is not sufficiently motivated. The search for novelty, which on occasion can create a striking effect, may also result in appropriate imagery or diction. The elements of the truly sublime in literature are often hard to distinguish. They are known chiefly by the effect, the reader's sense of exaltation. A great passage will grow in meaning and significance with each rereading. 5 sources of the sublime are outlined. 2 of these are results of the natural capacities of the author, grandeur of thought, and the vivid portrayal of the passions. The other 3 are basically rhetorical skills. The appropriate use of figures of speech, suitable diction and metaphors, and the majestic composition or structure of the whole work. An important source is the first, which rests upon the sweep of the author's mind. Although a great intellect is likely innate, it may be enlarged by association with great ideas. Reading the finest works of the past and pondering them is always valuable, although even the greatest minds can sometimes fall below their customary level. The author suggests that Homer's Odyssey is on a lower plane of intensity throughout his Iliad. It is the work of an aging man who dreams, and he dreams as Zeus might dream. On the Sublime is both a treatise on aesthetics and a work of literary criticism. It is written in an epistolary form, and the final part, possibly dealing with public speaking, has been lost. The treatise is dedicated to Posthumous Terentius, a cultured Roman public figure, though little else is known of him, and one of the Sublime is a compendium of literary exemplars with about 50 authors spanning 1,000 years mentioned or quoted. The concept of the Sublime is generally accepted to refer to a style of writing that elevates itself and above the ordinary. Finally, Longinus sets out 5 sources of sublimity that are great thoughts, strong emotions, certain figures of thought and speech, noble diction, and dignified word arrangement. The effects of the sublime are loss of rationality, an alienation leading to identification with the creative process of the artist, and a deep emotion mixing pleasure and exaltation. An example of sublime, which the author quotes in this work, is a poem by Sappho, and so-called Ode to Jealousy, defined as sublime ode. A writer's goal is not so just to express empty feelings, but to arouse emotion in his audience. In the treatise, the author asserts that the sublime leads the listeners not to persuasion, but to ecstasy. According to this statement, one could think that the sublime for Longinus was only a moment of evasion from reality, but on the contrary he thought that literature could model a soul, and that a soul could pour itself out into a work of art. In this way, the treatise becomes not only a text of literary inquiry, but also one of ethical dissertation, since the sublime becomes a product of a great soul. The sublime, moreover, does not manifest itself only in what is simply beautiful, but also in what is sufficiently distressing to cause bewilderment, wonder, and even fear. It could be said that Helen of Troy may certainly have been the most beautiful woman in the world, but she was never sublime in Greek literature, however, and Edmund Burke cites the scene of the old man looking at Helen's terrible beauty on the ramparts of Troy, and he regards it as an instance of the beautiful, but his imagination is captured by its sublimity. Hecuba, and he repeats, the Trojan woman is certainly sublime when she expresses her endless sorrow for the terrible destiny of her children. Longinus identifies three pitfalls that one should avoid in the quest of sublimity. The first is timidity, and it refers to flat endeavor to attain sublimity by using unwanted and overblown language. The poets who tend to show timidly in their writings tend to take bombardment for eloquence. The second is puerility, and it refers to the mawkish pedantry by which poets often tend to show off their scholarship. The third one is parenthesis, as in an attempt to attain sublimity. By portraying complex emotions, sometimes poets end up creating empty and out-of-place passion, emotional bombardment that render the entire work sentimental and of lowest common denominator. What about sources of sublimity? Longinus identifies 5 sources of sublimity, 2 of which begin inborn and the rest being artistic and hence attainable. The first one is Grandeur of Thought, because no work of poetry can attain sublimity without lofty thematic concerns. Seedly thoughts require a lofty soul, and Longinus believed the sublimity of thought is a reflection of the greatness of soul. Hence, he believed that those with mean and servile ideas can attain sublimity. For him, it's only natural that great accounts spring from the lips of those whose thoughts have always been profound and not trivial. The second is grandeur of passion. Great thematic concerns can be of no use if the composition lacks genuine and profound passion, and great thematic concerns which coupled with profound passion can render composition of ethereal aesthetic quality. Figures, as the third and most important artistic source of sublimity is figures. Figures should not be mechanical, but they must be firmly rooted in the emotion and thought that drive the poem ahead. Relaying each and every line with out-of-place figures is pedantic and might raise suspicions about the poet's honesty. It should be perfectly and innocently blended with the theme and passion of the poem, because art is the best when it seems to be nature, and nature when it contains art hidden within it. Thank you very much. See you next video. Subscribe. Goodbye.